Alrighty, welcome back. We just talked about the NFL Combine, start to the week, very excited time of the year for any football fan, really, but especially college football fans that still like the NFL because you get to kind of blur the lines here a little bit. And now let's get into some comments from Nick Saban. College football world obviously has been a little bit off the rocker the last couple of weeks and last couple of days, especially. There's been tons of stuff happening around with the playoff, with conference realignment, Florida State against the ACC. Tons of stuff happening across the sport that a lot of people don't like. Let's be honest. There are a lot of fans that are being discouraged about the future of the sport, what it looks like. Is it going to be just a rebrand of the NFL? And I share some of those worries. There are a lot of things that feel like they're going in the wrong direction for the sport just overall. But at the end of the day, some people need a little bit of help when they're trying to fix these problems. And I think someone that is uber qualified to do that is Nick Saban. And he is someone that has come forth in the last couple of weeks, especially last week, with an article from Chris Lowe at ESPN talking about how he wants to be a bigger part of fixing college football, if you will, being a part of change in college football and kind of coming to grips with some of the problems that we have and slowly finding solutions to those. He's been very vocal about this throughout his career, the different shortcomings of college football overall. But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do when you're in the game. But now he has the ability to be kind of a spokesperson, be the person on the front lines trying to keep what makes the sport special there, right? It's always a worry, and it's always something that fans are, especially now, are worrying about. But I think Nick Saban is someone that will at least command attention, right? He's not necessarily someone that can absolutely fix every problem. There's no way he can do everything all at once. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of people making decisions for this sport that I would say don't necessarily fully love the sport, or at least love it for what it really is, and what a lot of us love it for. And there are a couple of things I can say with absolute confidence. First of all, Nick Saban loves this sport. I can say that absolutely confidently because no one stays in this game for as long as he had without loving it, without showing up to work every day, really excited to work in football. And it's something that he has always been at the front lines for, has always been the guy that everyone kind of looked towards in the college football world because his teams, dominated the sport for so long. And I think also something I'm very, very confident in is he knows the sport, right? He has been around as it's kind of gone through this monumental change. He was around for the BCS as a head coach. He won, two championships during the BCS era, and then has seen the playoff and the transfer portal and NIL and all of these different things get introduced throughout his time at Alabama, and it's made him just an expert in all of the things that happen in the sport and all of the different changes that can happen very quickly. So he's been very outspoken about, the pitfalls of NIL and the transfer portal in the past. He has said in this article, he said he doesn't necessarily want it to be a salary cap for NIL, but he does think there has to be some type of checks and balances, right? A lot of what this sport is built off of is trying to keep competitive balance. Obviously, that's super hard in a sport that is so driven by money and the size of the school and all of those different things. But at the end of the day, he is someone that understands all of that and can at least navigate that to a better degree than some of the people that are currently making all those decisions. So it'll be very interesting to see what form all of this kind of takes because he's someone that doesn't necessarily love the spotlight all that much. They did ask him throughout this conversation would he be interested in a college football commissioner position? That would be very, I tend to think, is coming very soon, is coming as soon as possible, really, because it kind of has to for this sport to, survive throughout the next little bit. But he said he is not necessarily interested in any official position in the grand scheme of things. He just wants to be a spokesperson for change and figuring out how to put the earnest back on these kids being student athletes. He said student athlete is not really a thing that people use anymore because at the end of the day, at this point, they're pretty much professional athletes, right? So Saban has been, very worried about that happening throughout his time, and now he finally has a chance to be, fully removed from the sport, fully removed from any, conference affiliations or anything like that, and can kind of just, let it ride and speak his mind freely. And it'll be interesting to see what he has to say. And I think one of the things that I am very confident in when talking about all of this and what the future looks like with Nick Saban and college football in general is there is no room in college football. There's no group of people, whether it's the people running college football, whether it's, the media deals or the conference commissioners or other coaches or players or whatever. There's no amount of people that, wouldn't listen to Nick Saban in this sport, right? He's created pretty much this, larger than life figure in this sport, and he's been such a big part of this sport for such a long time and is widely respected all around the country. So there's no room he wouldn't walk into that everyone wouldn't look up and immediately start, listening to him. So it'll be interesting to see what form that takes, right? Does he, come in on conversations about the college football playoff and conference realignment going forward? Does he just kind of lurk in the shadows and try to fix problems that way? Does he, is he very front facing and becomes, maybe a part of the new fabric of college football, whether that's, probably not commissioner, as he said, but still tons of interesting positions that I'm sure do not exist yet that I would absolutely endorse Nick Saban to perform. But we'll see how all of this kind of comes together. I think there's a lot of different people worrying about the future of the sport, and I think for good reason. There's a lot of people thinking we are slowly losing what makes this sport specific, what makes it special, what makes it college football in a lot of ways. So, and although I think there are a lot of people out there that see the moniker Nick Saban to the rescue and immediately scoff, and I've had my fair share run with Nick Saban where he has beaten my teams and left me very upset at the end of the day. But I can say that he loves the sport. I can say he is as knowledgeable about this sport as anyone in the country, and I can confidently say that if he were to be a big part of the future of the sport, I would feel immensely better about what's going on and, what could happen throughout the future of this sport, because at the end of the day, what we need is more people up top that get the sport, that love it to death and have put it in front of other things. And that's the epitome of Nick Saban. He has always been about college football, always been about helping the sport in whatever way he can. And although he did keep parity away for some time being, I can't necessarily blame him for that because, winning is fun. So although he did make the sport a little bit hard to watch at times because of his dominance, I think he is someone that we need. He is obviously not necessarily the person that some people want to save the sport, and I'm not saying he's going to save the sport by any means, but he's absolutely someone that college football needs on behind its back. They need someone that is not only respected in the field, not only loved around the college football world, not necessarily loved. I guess loved is a strong word for a lot of SEC fans out there, but just in general, someone that has been such a fabric of this sport for so long. It's always awesome to see someone like that get involved in the future of the sport, right? Because you want the right people in the room. And I think for a long time we've had the wrong people in the room, and it's slowly starting to kind of show its face, right? It's starting to show that there's got to be new faces talking about the future of college football, whether it's Nick Saban or other former coaches or players. There's tons of guys I can think of that would be just incredible fits, and maybe that's something we'll go into later this week, guys that could lead us out of this, purgatory we're in with college football right now. But I think you add Nick Saban to the group, then other former coaches will start lining up, right? Maybe you'll get, Dan Mullen to join the fight, and, tons of different guys that can be very, very effective in, at the very least, explaining what's really going on to a group of people that probably don't fully understand all the ins and outs of what's going on in college football. And then you add some guys that might be hanging them up pretty soon, like Mac Brown at UNC. A lot of people suspect this might be his last year in 2024, although I feel like that's been the expectation for the last couple of years, so Mac Brown will be interesting to watch throughout the year. But the reality is getting more guys in the room that care about the sport and that I know care about the sport is always the goal. And I know Nick Saban cares about the sport. I know he wants the best for the sport and the best for the players. So at the end of the day, although Nick Saban has not necessarily been my favorite person throughout throughout my college football lifetime, I think he's someone that we might need in this very moment, and might be a huge part of the future of college football. So very interesting comments from him. Very interesting dynamic overall with what could happen in that in that arena with Nick Saban, and see what his next step is as part of college football. It'll be very interesting to see. But we are going to take a short break here, and when we get back, we are going to talk about some breakout players on the defensive side of the ball for 2024. Some really, really talented guys that you might not know about. So very excited to talk about that, but stick with us, and we will be right back.